Today I am going to discuss about deep vein thrombosis. Where is the most common site of developing deep vein thrombosis? Yes, please. Lower limb. Yes, lower limb is the most common site of developing deep vein thrombosis. Can you develop deep vein thrombosis in your arm? Answer is yes. Your arm also containing deep veins. Your radial artery accompanying two deep veins. Your ulnar artery also accompanied two deep veins. Your brachial artery also accompanied two deep veins. In those veins also, they can develop thrombus and deep vein thrombosis in the upper limb as well. So your deep vein thrombosis can develop in the upper limb, lower limb and pelvis mainly. Before I am moving into the deep vein thrombosis, I want to check what are the factors will enhance the clot formation or thrombus formation. For that, I am going to do an experiment. I am going to send the blood from this end and I am going to look for this end. I am going to change the constitution of the blood from here to here and I am going to check the intensity of clot formation or incidence of clot formation. Number one, I am going to increase the velocity gradually. Initially, I send with the small velocity, then gradually I increase the velocity. When I increase the velocity, it reduces the incidence of developing of clot or thrombus. That means stasis of the blood or sluggish blood flow enhance the development of thrombus. So stasis of the blood or sluggish blood flow enhance the development of clot. After that, I increase the amount of clotting factor here. Then what I found is increase the incidence of clot formation. When I increase in the amount of clotting factors, blood become procoagulant and clot formation also increased. Number 3, I damage this endothelium. I damage this healthy venous endothelium. What I found is once I damage this healthy endothelium, the clot formation is enhanced. Clot formation process is enhanced. So once I damage the endothelium, clot formation also going to be enhanced. Now I found 3 factors. Number 1, stasis of the blood lead to blood coagulation. Number 2, increased amount of clotting factors lead to blood coagulation. Number 3, endothelial injury lead to blood coagulation. Those 3 factors first discovered by Dr. Virchow. Dr. Virchow discovered those 3 factors are the main factors responsible for blood coagulation. Because of that, Dr. Virchow described these factors as Virchow's triad. If somebody asks what is Virchow's triad? Stasis of the blood, endothelial injury and hypercoagulation enhance the clot formation. Those are the Virchow's triad or 3 factors which enhance the blood coagulation. Do you know Virchow's node? The same spelling from here to here, only the change is node. Yes or no? Virchow's node is the first lymph node in the supraclavicular area which drain the lymph from the abdomen and the pelvis. Lymph from the abdomen and the pelvis drain into your cisterna chyli, and while the thoracic duct it drain into your brachiocephalic trunk, brachiocephalic vein area. During that transportation, lymph can drain into cervical lymph node as well. If you have an intra-abdominal malignancy, that malignant lymph cells also can drain into your supraclavicular area. If you are having abdominal inflammation, you can develop enlargement of supraclavicular lymph node, left side. Those lymph nodes also called Virchow's node. I don't know whether the same person discovered Virchow's node or Virchow's triad, but both are discovered by Rudolf Virchow, maybe single person. I am not going to discuss about the Virchow's node here, only the Virchow's triad. Virchow's triad says blood stasis, hypercoagulation and endothelial injury lead to blood coagulation. If you found a patient with high amount of blood stasis, one patient can have large amount of blood stasis. Low cardiac output patient, yes. Immobilization patient or post-surgical patients tend to be in the ward or bed for a long time. Those patients can have blood stasis. Who are the patient can have hypercoagulable status? Patient with cancer, patient following surgery, or larger amount of transfusion of clotting factors, fresh portion plasma, or cryoprecipitate-like substance leading to higher amount of clotting factor, leading to blood coagulation. Endothelial injury. If you are having inflammation in the vessels for following surgery, your endothelial is become disease or damage, enhance the formation of clot. So those factors will enhance the formation of the clot. Here the stasis means post-surgical, can be post-surgery, cast, plaster cast, immobilization following fracture. Here damage endothelium again following surgery. Sepsis, inflammation can lead to endothelial injury. Sepsis, inflammation. Here also cancer patient may be hypercoagulable or transfusion of clotting factor leading to hypercoagulable state. So those are the factors which enhance the formation of clot within your vascular system, mainly within your venous system, deep venous system. Dr. Wills and me did the last Saturday on call night done by Dr. Wills and me. We found a patient, interesting patient, 60-year-old diagnostic patient with prosthetic CA, with a back pain and bedridden, maybe damage or collapsed vertebra, bedridden. Somehow when he tried to move into the outside of the bed, fallen from the bed and came into our hospital after about 3 days. Found to have swollen lower limb. Dr. Wills and me suspecting patient having deep vein thrombosis. Then I decided to do investigations, but Dr. Wills says, prior to investigation, can you tell me the probability of having DVT in these patients? What nonsense. Then again he asked, prior to investigation, prior to test, can you tell me the probability of having DVT in this patient? Then I said 50%. Then he said, shall we formulate prior to test probability score for DVT? Then I said yes. Then Dr. Wills designed a system or design of questionnaire prior to test. You should go through those tests, go through those history and questionnaire in order to decide what test you are going to do in next or not. What test you should do next or not. So because of that, it is prior to test. Because of that, we are going to call it as pre-test probability. It was invented by Dr. Wells. Because of that, pre-test probability Wells score of DVT. We are going to call it as pre-test probability Wells score for DVT. Following day morning, that score system was modified by consultant. Because of that, we are going to call it as from now onward pre-test modified probability Wells score or modified Wells score for DVT. Modified Wells score for DVT. We are going to donate mark for each one. Number 1, active active cancer, if my patient having active cancer for last 6 months or cancer treatment or on palliative treatment, I am going to donate 1 mark. Active cancer within last 6 months or on treatment or on palliative, I am going to donate 1 mark. Number 2, if my patient is having paralysis or plaster cast mobilization, paralysis or cast immobilization, I am going to donate 1 mark. If my patient having bedridden more than 3 days or major surgery within past 12 weeks, number 3, bedridden more than 3 days or major surgery last 12 weeks, again 1 mark. Number 4, localized tenderness. If my patient having localized tenderness over the vein, localized tenderness over deep vein, again I will give 1 mark to my patient. Number 5, entire leg swollen. Again I am going to give 1 mark to my patient. When comparing to the other limb, if my limb is swelling is more than 3 cm below the level of tibial tuberosity, 10 cm below the tibial tuberosity, the difference between the other limb and diseased limb more than 3 cm, I am going to give 1 mark. Number 6, swollen more than 3 cm when comparing to other limb, I am going to give 1 mark. Number 7, if my patient having pitting edema in affected limb, I am going to give 1 mark. Number 8, if my patient having collateral superficial vein, that means venous obstruction in there in the major vein, collateral superficial vein, I am going to give 1 mark. If my patient having history of deep vein thrombosis previously, I am going to give another mark. 9, history of DVT, I am going to give 1 mark. If my patient having features of other disease, that means DVT is unlikely. For example, redness and swollen is there with the focus of infection, highly suspecting cellulitis, I am going to give -2 mark. Number 10, other diagnosis likely, I am going to give -2 marks. So I am going to donate, Dr. Wells designed this one, consultant modified it the following day. Because of that we are going to call it as modified Wells score for DVT. This is kind of pre-test probability assessment. Pre-test probability assessment. Because of that we are going to call it as pre-test probability assessment of modified Wells score. Number 1, if my patient having active cancer for last 6 months or on treatment or on palliative treatment, I am going to give 1 mark. Paralysis or cast immobilization, I am going to give 1 mark. Bedridden more than 3 days or major surgery within last 12 weeks, I am going to give 1 mark. Localized tenderness over the deep vein, I am going to give 1 mark. Entire leg swollen, I am going to give 1 mark. Swollen more than 3 cm when compared to the other limb, 10 cm below the tibial tuberosity, I am going to give 10 marks. And pitting edema there, I am going to give 1 mark. The collateral superficial vein dilatation, I am going to give 1 mark. History of DVT is there, I am going to give 1 mark. And if other diagnosis is unlikely, if other diagnosis is likely, I am going to cut 2 mark or give, I am going to give 2 minus mark. Altogether, I can take 9 mark from here to here. If my patient having 2 or more marks, 2 or more marks, we are going to call it as DVT is likely. DVT or deep vein thrombosis is likely. If my patient having 2 or more marks, DVT is likely. That means if my patient having these two, DVT is likely. If my patient having these two, DVT is likely. If my patient having 1 or less mark, DVT is unlikely. Dr. Wills say this system. Dr. Wills say prior to test we will do some probability assessment. From that probability assessment we will say if mark is more than 2 or more, we are going to call it as DVT is likely. If it is less than 1 or less than 1, we are going to call it as DVT is unlikely. This is look like 2 level. That means either patient having DVT or patient is unlikely to have DVT. This means this is some kind of 2-level probability assessment. 2-level probability assessment. Because of that, we are going to call it as 2-level pre-test probability assessment modified Wells score. The correct name for Wells score is 2-level pre-test probability assessment modified Wells score. Now I am going to do the investigation according to pre-test probability. I already told if it is more than 2, we have DVT is likely. If it is less than 1, DVT is unlikely. 1 or less than 1. So if my patient have mark more than 2, I am going to list all the part. If my patient having mark more than 2, that means my patient having higher chance of developed DVT. My patient having DVT, the Wells score is more than 2 or more than 2. If my patient having 2 or more than 2 Wells score, I have to do duplex scan within 4 hours. I have to do duplex scan within 4 hours. What is the meaning of duplex? Doppler and compression. That means you should keep your probe into your deep vein in the lower limb. Look for the flow, Doppler flow, and look for the compressibility. Try to compress it. If you can't compress, highly likely to have DVT. If you don't see the flow in your vein, highly likely to have DVT. So you have to do duplex scan within 4 hours. If your duplex scan is positive, if you found a positive duplex scan, that means DVT is there, you have to start anticoagulation. You have to start anticoagulation. If you found a patient with duplex scan negative duplex scan, then you have to do D-dimer level. D-dimer is one of the breakdown product of fibrin. Fibrin monomer break down into fibrinogen degradation product. The name for fibrinogen degradation product is D-dimer. That means if you have a clot, some fibers start to lyse. Those degraded product of fibrin going to liberate into circulation. If you found to have D-dimer in your circulation, that means your patient having some sort of a thrombolysis in circulation. That means clot must be there. If you found a patient with the D-dimer also negative, D-dimer negative, you have to do D-dimer. If D-dimer is negative, you have to reassure the patients. Nothing was there, don't need to worry. But if there is something, please come and meet me. So if negative, reassure the patient. If D-dimer positive and duplex scan negative, you have to repeat the duplex scan in duplex scan in 6 to 8 days in order to identify whether your patient developing clotting, If your patient don't have clot, you have to anticoagulate. If not, no need anticoagulation. If you are not able to do duplex scan within 4 hours, sometimes it can be happen. Duplex scan may not be available within 4 hours. Then what you should do? Duplex not available. Then you have to anticoagulate your patient then and there, because your patient having likely to develop DVT according to Wales score. Because of that, you have to start anticoagulation here. If duplex not available, start anticoagulation. Then you have to do D-dimers. If your patient found to have D-dimer negative, D-dimer positive, then you have to do duplex scan. If D-dimer and duplex both positive, you have to continue anticoagulation. If your scan negative but D-dimer positive, scan negative. Again, you have to repeat scan in 6 to 8 days. That is how we are going to manage in patient with highly likely DVT according to Wales score. That is how we are going to manage patient with highly likely according to Wales score. That means Wales score more than 2. You have to do duplex scan within 4 hours. If you can do it. If you want to have positive, you have to anticoagulate. If negative, you have to do D-dimers. If D-dimer negative, you have to reassure the patient. If D-dimer positive, you have to repeat the duplex scan in 6 to 8 days times. Then, if duplex is not available, your patient is having high risk of having DVT. So you have to start anticoagulation then and there. Then you have to do the D-dimers. If D-dimer positive, you have to continue the anticoagulation. If D-dimer negative, you have to stop. Anticoagulation, and you have to repeat scan in 6 to 8. If D-dimer negative, stop this one, and you have to do scan because your patient having high risk of developing DVT, here. And you may not need to start anticoagulation if D-dimer is negative. So, shall we move into the other side? That means if you have found a patient with Wales score less than 2. If you found a patient with Wales score less than 2, you have to do D-dimer in 4 hours. D-dimer within 4 hours. If you found negative D-dimers here, you have to reassure your patients. Unlikely to having DVT, other diagnosis is likely, you have to evaluate for that. If you found a patient with 2-level probability Wales score less than 2 with negative D-dimer, you have to reassure the patient. If you found a positive D-dimer patient here, you have to do ultrasound scan within 4 hours. Or duplex scan within 4 hours. If you have found a positive duplex, if you found a positive duplex, you have to anticoagulate. If you found a negative duplex, you have to follow your patient and you have to repeat scan in 6 to 8 days time. You have to repeat scan in 6 to 8 days time. This is how you are going to manage in patient with or suspecting PT, patient with deep vein thrombosis. So first of all, what you should do is you should assess pre-test probability modified Wells score. If you found a patient with more than two or more risk factors or marks, you have to do duplex scan within 4 hours. If duplex is positive, you have to anticoagulate your patients. If duplex is negative, you have to do D-dimer in your patients. And if D-dimer positive, you have to repeat the scan in 6 to 8 days time. If D-dimer and duplex both negative, you have to reassure your patients. If duplex is not available, your patient is high risk of having DVT, you have to anticoagulate your patient. If you found have positive D-dimers after that you have to do D-dimers because duplex is not available. If D-dimer positive, you have to do duplex. If duplex is positive, you have to anticoagulate. If duplex is negative here, if duplex is negative, you have to stop anticoagulation. You have to stop anticoagulation. You have to repeat scan in 6 to 8 days time. That is how you manage in patient with 2 or more Wells score. If you found less than 2 Wells score, that means 1 or less than 1, you are still suspecting DVT. You have to do D-dimer within 4 hours. If D-dimer negative, you have to reassure the patients. Alternative diagnosis is likely. You have to find what is the diagnosis. If D-dimer positive, you have to do duplex scan within 4 hours. If duplex scan is positive, you have to anticoagulate to your patients. If duplex scan is negative, again you have to repeat scanning 4 to 8 days time. What are the drugs available to anticoagulate the patient? Yes, anyone. Anticoagulation is done by using which drugs? If you have found a patient with symptomatic DVT with insufficiency of the lower limb blood supply, saturation also going to be low, in that case your patient may need thrombolysis. Your patient may need thrombolysis if symptomatic DVT is present. Thrombolysis if symptomatic DVT. Otherwise, you have to stop the clot formation. Otherwise, you have to stop the propagation of the clot formation. It can be done by using anticoagulant. Then number 2, you have to start anticoagulation. Either low molecular weight heparin or unfractionated heparin, or you can use newer anticoagulant. Newer anticoagulant may need less monitoring. Newer digabapentin, rivaroxaban, live drugs you can use for anticoagulation here. If you are going to use low molecular weight heparin, need less monitoring. If you are going to use unfractionated heparin, you have to give it as a continuous bolus, continuous infusion. Not only that, you have to monitor it more carefully. If you found a patient with difficulty in giving anticoagulant or anticoagulant contraindicated, like head injury with intracranial bleeding, you can't give anticoagulant simultaneously to lysis of the clot or to prevent the propagation of the clot. In that case, you can start mechanical prophylaxis of DVT. Mechanical prophylaxis. Mechanical method. You can insert vena cava filters. Vena cava filter. You can put filter into the inferior vena cava below the level of kidney in order to prevent the clot embolization into your pulmonary circulation. To prevent the clot embolization, you can put vena cava filter here. So mechanical method is vena cava filter, or if you found a patient with severe symptomatic, you can consider surgical thrombectomy. According to risk factors, you may have to continue anticoagulation sometime 3 months, even more than that. So you can consider, number 5, you have to consider long-term anticoagulation, mainly with warfarin. So DVT management include, number 1, you have to thrombolysis if symptomatic DVT present, or you may have to consider surgical thrombectomy. Number 2, you have to consider anticoagulation, either with low molecular weight heparin or unfractionated heparin, or if available, use newer anticoagulant. You need less monitoring with the newer anticoagulant and more reliability as well. You can take even orally. So, if your patient found to have contraindication to anticoagulation, you can consider mechanical method to prevent the clot embolization. It will not prevent the clot build-up of the clot and further increase in the disease. It will just prevent the clot embolization into your pulmonary circulation. And the last one, you may have to consider long-term anticoagulation in some case. Those are the things regarding the DVT which are available in 2020 guideline. Thank you very much.